The ambulance doors slammed open. Rain pounded the city streets like tiny hammers. Emma Ward's chest felt like it was on fire. Her arm bled heavily. Her designer blouse was torn and soaked with rain and blood. "Please someone make it stop," she whispered, clutching a nurse's sleeve, voice shaking. I can't take the pain." No doctor had arrived yet. Only a man in a worn security jacket ran toward her. His boots splashed through puddles. His eyes scanned the chaotic ER, sharp, calm, alive. "What happened?" he asked. "Car crash, major impact," the nurse yelled. He shrugged off his jacket, revealing numbers tattooed on his wrist. Emma froze. His voice was calm, deep, and impossible to ignore. "You're going to be okay. I promise." His name was Ethan Ward, 38, a single father and night shift security guard at Crestwood Hospital. Every night, the same routine. Clock in at 10 p.m., walk the halls, check doors, make sure no one got hurt. His daughter, Lily, 8, sat in the cafeteria doing homework or drawing hearts and stars, waiting for him to finish his shift at 6 a.m. No one at the hospital knew Ethan's past. He had been a combat medic, 3 tours overseas, saving hundreds of lives under fire. But after his wife died in a car crash 5 years ago, he left the army. He took this quiet job to raise Lily, to be there for her, to live a life that didn't vanish in a moment like his wife's had. The radio crackled. "Incoming trauma, car crash downtown. ETA 3 minutes. Ethan was already at the ER entrance. He heard the siren before he saw the lights. Paramedics burst in, pushing a stretcher. Emma lay there, bleeding pale, eyes wide with fear. She could barely breathe. Her designer clothes ruined. Panic rippled across the ER. Dr. Reyes was stuck in traffic. No time. Ethan didn't hesitate. He moved fast, precise, controlled. He checked her pulse, checked her breathing, applied pressure to the bleeding. "Stay with me. Focus on my voice. You're safe now," he whispered, almost like he was talking to a frightened child, but with the authority of a battlefield commander. Emma's trembling hand reached for his. I don't want the pain," she gasped. "You're going to see the sunrise," Ethan said, steady, firm, and unyielding. His hands held hers tight. He spoke slowly, guiding her through every breath. "In and out. You're safe. Now." Minutes passed. Rain continued to slam against the windows. Every second felt like an hour. Ethan kept her talking, kept her alive, kept her mind away from the fear. When Dr. Reyes finally arrived, Emma's pulse had steadied. Her breathing slowed. She tried to look at him, but he was already stepping back, letting the team take over. Their eyes met. She mouthed, "Thank you." He nodded once, a ghost in the shadows. Just another night. Just another life saved. Later, Lily waited in the cafeteria, holding a drawing. "Mom, look. Superhero," she squealed. Ethan, tired, smiled softly, ruffling her hair. "It's perfect, sweetheart. Let's go home." But Emma couldn't stop thinking about him. The man who moved like a storm and held her like sunrise. She didn't know his story. She didn't know his past. But she knew one thing: he had changed her life. Little did Emma know, the man who saved her life wasn't just a security guard. His past would catch up to her, his courage would test her, and soon their lives would collide in ways she never imagined. Tomorrow, the real story would begin. Emma Ward's vision swam as she leaned against the hospital wall. The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting long shadows on the wet floors. Her chest ached, ribs sore from the crash, her arm throbbing where Ethan's hands had pressed to stop the bleeding. Rain still dripped from her hair, but it was the echo of his calm voice that kept her breathing steady. "You're going to see the sunrise." She didn't know his name yet. He had vanished before the doctors even arrived, leaving only a quiet impression of strength and courage. But every second since, she felt a strange pull toward him, a curiosity she didn't understand. Something about the way he moved, precise and confident yet careful, lingered in her mind like a shadow she couldn't shake. A nurse entered with water and checked her vitals, her expression serious. "You're lucky," she said softly. That guard, he saved you. Before the doctor even arrived. Calm, precise. Like he knew exactly what to do. A guard? Emma whispered, startled. Her pulse quickened. How could a simple security guard move like that, save her life in minutes, when she had been sure she would die? Something didn't add up. The calmness, the certainty, he wasn't ordinary. Later, Lily burst into the room, backpack bouncing, cheeks flushed. Mom. Guess. What? She squealed. My teacher said Mr. Stone's company donated a new computer lab to our school. Tablets, books, everything. Emma forced a smile, her mind half on Lily, half on Ethan. Her body had survived, yes, but her mind couldn't stop replaying his hands on her arm, the quiet authority in his voice. Who was this man? Why did he disappear without a word? And why did she feel the urge to see him again, even though she barely knew him? Across town, Michael Stone, the young CEO of Stone Tech Industries, was watching news reports about the accident. His sharp blue eyes narrowed. He knew Emma Ward personally. He had worked with her on several business projects. But this he couldn't control. And the report only mentioned the car crash, not who had saved her life. Back in the hospital, Emma tried to stand. Pain shot through her ribs. Every step was a struggle. She wanted to find him. She wanted answers. But the hall seemed impossibly quiet. Monitors beeped in the distance. A janitor pushed a mop. Nurses whispered among themselves. No one knew where he had gone. Lily tugged at her hand, holding up a drawing she had made in class. Mom, can I meet him? The superhero who saved you. Emma hesitated. Her chest tightened. She didn't want to bring attention to him. He had acted quietly, selflessly. She didn't want to ruin that. And yet, there was a pull she couldn't ignore. Then the hospital radio crackled with another emergency call. Ethan's footsteps echoed faintly in the hall outside. He was already moving, calm and precise, invisible in the chaos. Watching him act, Emma realized he wasn't just a guard. He was someone who carried the weight of life and death every night, silently, without reward, without recognition. Her mind spun. Could courage like that exist outside the hospital, in the world she lived in? Could someone like him touch her life again? She didn't know yet. But she felt it, something she couldn't explain. Emma had survived the night, but the real danger wasn't the crash. The next night, fate would push them together again, and this time, there would be no shadows to hide behind. Someone would need her courage just as much as she had needed his. The night air was thick with rain as Emma Ward wheeled herself toward the hospital cafeteria. Her arms still ached, but her mind burned brighter than pain. She couldn't stop thinking about him. The man who had saved her life, the quiet hero who vanished before. She could even speak his name. Her daughter Lily clutched her hand. Mom, can we go to the playground for a minute? She asked. Her eyes sparkled with energy. Emma smiled faintly, tired but alert. Just for a little while, okay, pumpkin? Outside, the city shimmered in puddles, streetlights reflecting like molten gold. Emma leaned on her crutch, pushing through exhaustion, her thoughts spinning back to that moment in the air. Every second had been alive with tension, her pulse hammering while his hands pressed against her arm. He hadn't just saved her life. He had anchored her, given her hope. In a moment when hope seemed impossible, she didn't know why she cared so much. She had survived car crashes, business betrayals, heartbreaks, but this was different. Across town, Michael Stone, CEO of Stone Tech Industries, stared at the news feeds on his tablet. Emma Ward's accident had been the headline yesterday. But more than that, he noticed the subtle ripple in the city, her influence, her reach, and now someone had saved her. He didn't know the man yet, but something in the way she had survived, in the precision of the emergency response, tugged at him. Michael was used to control, to strategy, to anticipating every outcome. But this was chaos he couldn't calculate. Back at the hospital, the cafeteria was nearly empty. Ethan Ward, the night shift security guard, moved silently through the shadows, checking doors, watching hallways. His body was tired, But his mind never slept. Every life in the hospital was his responsibility. Every second mattered. Lily tugged at Emma's sleeve. "Mom, wait," she said, pointing. Emma looked up and froze. A man in a security jacket was moving through the cafeteria with calm precision. Her stomach tightened. She recognized the walk, the presence, the way he scanned the room as if nothing could escape him. It was Ethan. Her heart thudded like it would burst. She wanted to call out, to run to him, but something held her back. The quiet hero, the man who saved her life, was still a mystery. Ethan's eyes met hers for a brief moment. A flicker of recognition passed between them. No words, just understanding. He nodded slightly before moving on, invisible to the world but impossible to ignore to her. Lily watched, puzzled. "Mom, is that the man?" Emma swallowed hard. "Yes, that's him," she said softly, all mixing with fear. She wanted to thank him, to ask about him, to understand everything. But she also knew this was his world, quiet, controlled, unseen. She didn't want to break that. Meanwhile, the hospital radio crackled again. Another emergency. Ethan's head snapped up. Without hesitation, he disappeared into the hallway. Every movement precise, confident, life-saving. Emma watched him vanish and realized something profound. This man didn't choose recognition. He didn't seek applause. He only chose to act, to save, to be there when no one else could. Her mind whirled. She had survived the crash. But now a new realization settled in her chest. Survival wasn't just about her body. It was about courage. It was about trust. And Ethan. Ethan embodied both in a way she had never seen. Tomorrow, Emma would be pulled deeper into Ethan's world. Danger, truth, and choices would collide. And for the first time, she would realize that some people in life appear not to save you once, but to change everything forever. The hospital was quieter than usual that night. The rain replaced by a soft wind that rattled the glass doors. Emma Ward moved slowly down the hallway, her crutch tapping softly against the tile. Pain still lanced through her ribs, but her mind was sharper than ever. She couldn't stop thinking about Ethan, the man who had saved her life with calm hands and quiet strength. She paused outside the supply room, noticing a shadow move near the emergency exit. Her breath caught. It was him, Ethan Ward. He was checking the doors, his uniform damp from the earlier rain. His eyes scanned the hall, alert, precise. There was no ego, no showmanship, just presence. The very presence that had anchored her during her crash, that had kept her alive when every instinct told her to panic. Emma swallowed hard. She wanted to say something, anything, but words stuck in her throat. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Recognition passed silently, heavier than any conversation. "Emma," he finally said, voice low and calm. "You shouldn't be wandering the halls alone." Her lips parted. I had to see you," she admitted softly. "I needed to know who you are." Ethan's gaze softened, just slightly. "I'm just someone who does what needs to be done. That's all." "But you saved me," Emma whispered, voice trembling. "You didn't have to. And you didn't even tell anyone." Ethan's jaw tightened. "It's not about me. Lives matter more than recognition." Lily's small voice echoed behind Emma. "Mom, I drew another picture." She ran up, holding a crayon sketch of Emma being helped by a figure wearing a security jacket. Ethan's eyes flicked to the girl, a small smile tugging at his lips. Lily held it up proudly. "See, Mom? He's a superhero." Emma chuckled softly, tears threatening. Yes, he is." The moment was fragile, suspended in time, until a phone buzzed in Emma's bag. She glanced at it. Michael Stone's name flashed on the screen. Her pulse quickened. The CEO's presence reminded her of the world she lived in outside these hospital walls. The world of power, pressure, and impossible expectations. "Go ahead," Ethan said, nodding toward her phone. "I'll wait," she answered, voice steady despite her racing heart. "Michael is. I'm okay." He glanced at Ethan. "You should know. It's been a night I'll never forget." Ethan remained silent, but his eyes held a subtle question. Will you remember? Will you trust? The call ended, and silence returned. Emma looked at him, her chest tightening with something she hadn't felt in years. Gratitude, or something deeper. I don't even know. Your story, she admitted. You don't need to, Ethan replied. It's enough that I was there when it mattered. For a long moment neither spoke. The hospital lights hummed softly. The distant sound of monitors, the occasional echo of footsteps. It all felt suspended, as if the world had slowed. Just for them. Then Lily tugged at her mother's sleeve again. Mom, can we come back tomorrow? Please. Emma smiled, brushing a damp strand of hair from her face. She looked at Ethan, whose eyes softened as he glanced down at Lily. Tomorrow, he said quietly. I'll be here. Emma's heart clenched. She wanted to ask so many questions. His past, why he had left. The military, why he chose this quiet life. But something in his presence told her it would come in time. For now, survival and trust were enough. Tomorrow their lives would be tested again. Not by accident, not by chance, but by something darker, something neither Emma nor Ethan could ignore. And when danger returns, they won't be able to stay in the shadows. The clock read 11:45 p.m. The hospital corridors were quiet, save for the faint hum of monitors and distant footsteps echoing against the sterile walls. Emma Ward sat in her room, exhausted but alert. Lily was asleep on the small pull-out bed beside her, her soft breaths rising and falling like a calming rhythm. Emma's mind, however, was restless. She couldn't stop thinking about Ethan, the man who had saved her, who had vanished before she could even thank him properly. Suddenly, the radio crackled in the security office down the hall. Ethan Ward's voice came through low, calm, precise. Incoming trauma. Car accident near downtown bridge. ETA. 3 minutes. Emma's heart skipped. She knew the city streets well, and a crash at that location meant serious injuries, chaos, and panic. She felt a familiar pull in her chest, the instinct to be near the danger, but she had Lily to protect. She leaned against the wall as the sound of sirens pierced the night. The ambulance arrived. Moments later, doors bursting open. Paramedics rushed in, wheeling a man in his 40s, clothes soaked, face pale, breathing shallow. His eyes fluttered as panic rippled through the hall. Ethan appeared instantly, moving like water through the crowd. Calm, precise, trained. He dropped to his knees beside the man, checking airway, pulse, breathing. Stay with me, he said firmly, voice low but commanding. You're safe now. Focus on my voice. Emma's eyes widened. She knew that voice. That same voice had pulled her through her worst moment. She watched as he worked, every motion confident, every decision exact. He didn't ask for recognition. He didn't hesitate. He acted. The paramedics looked at him in awe. You saved him, one whispered. Ethan nodded, but didn't speak. He stepped back, letting the team take over. Emma felt her chest tighten. The pull toward him, the admiration, the inexplicable longing, it all surged at once. She realized something terrifying. She didn't just want to thank him. She needed him to be part of her world, part of her life, part of her daughter's life. Lily stirred in her sleep. Emma put a finger to her lips, calming her, while her eyes never left Ethan. He rose, brushing his knees off, scanning the hall as if ensuring nothing else would fall apart tonight. He was invisible to the world, but to Emma, he was everything. Minutes later, the emergency cleared. Ethan returned to the shadows of the hallways, quietly, checking doors unseen. Emma's hand trembled as she held it to her chest. She wanted to run to him, to tell him what she felt, but she couldn't. Not yet. The hospital radio buzzed again. Another emergency. Ethan's body moved instantly, disappearing into the hallway. Emma realized something. Danger always followed him. It had found her once. It would find them again. And then, just as she was about to leave the room, the door opened. Michael Stone, CEO of Stone Tech Industries, stepped inside, rain still on his coat. Emma, he said, voice sharp but concerned. Are you okay? I heard about the accident, and, he paused, noticing the way. Her eyes lingered on the hallway. Someone helped you? Emma didn't answer. She just nodded slightly, eyes still searching the shadows where Ethan had vanished. Michael frowned but didn't press. He knew some stories weren't meant to be explained, only felt. Tomorrow Emma would face a choice. Stay in her controlled world with Michael Stone's influence pressing in, or step fully into Ethan's dangerous, heroic world, where courage, fear, and love collided in ways she had never imagined. And when that choice comes, nothing will be the same. Emma Ward's hands trembled as she stood in the hospital's community lounge. Rain lashed against the glass outside, streaking the city in silver light. Lily's small hand clutched hers tightly, grounding her, keeping her from drifting into panic. But Emma couldn't shake the memory of Ethan, his calm, decisive hands saving her life. She wanted him to be near, to explain, to stay. Yet he had vanished again, like a shadow that could never be caught. Then the door swung open. Michael Stone stepped in, his presence magnetic and sharp. The CEO's eyes were stormy, scanning the room, landing on Emma. Emma, he said, voice low but intense. We need to talk. Your accident. Everything that's happened. It changes things. We can't ignore it. Emma's chest tightened. She didn't want corporate power pressing down on her. Not now. Not when every fiber of her being was still focused on Ethan, the man who had risked everything without asking for anything in return. Michael, I'm fine. Really? Just let me breathe, she said softly, trying to steady Lily, who sensed the tension. Michael's gaze softened, just a fraction. I know you're tough, but you've been through something serious. And there's someone who should be recognized, someone who saved your life. I know you haven't told anyone, but this man, he deserves more than shadows. Emma. Her heart raced. Recognition, attention, she didn't want it for him. Ethan didn't act for that. Yet Michael's words planted a seed. Could she allow the world to see the hero she had only glimpsed in flashes of calm control and quiet courage? Before she could answer, a radio crackled. A security alert. Another emergency. Instinct took over. Emma's gaze darted toward the hallway. And there he was, Ethan Ward, moving with the same fluid precision, scanning, calculating, preparing to act. Emma felt something shift deep inside her. She wanted to run to him, to be near him, to tell him how much she had already begun to trust him. But Lily held her back. Her daughter's innocent eyes reminded her. She had to choose carefully. Michael's voice was urgent. Emma, he's remarkable. You can't ignore him. He's extraordinary. Ethan's eyes met hers for a brief second. That single look held everything: strength, compassion, unspoken understanding, and a quiet demand. Trust me. Emma's breath caught. Her body wanted to follow him, but her mind hesitated. Michael's influence, her corporate world, the life she thought she controlled. It was all tugging at her in one direction. And then the emergency unfolded. A nurse sprinted past screaming. Code blue. Elderly. Patient collapsed in the West Wing. Ethan moved instantly, dropping to his knees beside the man. Emma's chest tightened. She recognized that voice, that calm command, that aura of controlled chaos. She couldn't stop herself. Without thinking, she followed, crutches clattering, Lily tugging behind. Michael's expression was a mixture of awe and concern. Emma, you can't. But Emma didn't care. She needed to witness it, to see the heroism she had only felt in flashes before. Ethan's hands pressed on the man's chest. Calm, precise, unshakable. She watched him save another life, just as he had saved hers. Time slowed. Rain outside streaked the windows. Lily's small voice whispered, Mom, he's amazing. Emma nodded, chest tight, realizing the truth she had been avoiding. Ethan Ward wasn't just a security guard. He was courage incarnate. And she had to let him into her world. Completely, recklessly, without hesitation. Tomorrow, Emma's choice would force her to confront the danger and courage that had entered her life. Ethan's world and Michael Stone's world were about to collide. And in that storm, Everything she thought she knew about trust, love, and sacrifice would be tested. The hospital was alive with quiet urgency. Monitors beeped softly in the distance, and the faint echo of footsteps reverberated through the hallways. Emma Ward leaned against the wall near the ICU, crutches steadying her trembling body. Her heart still raced from the night's emergencies. Every time Ethan appeared, a calm certainty seemed to follow him, as if danger itself bowed to his presence. Her mind replayed the memory of him pressing against her arm in the ER, whispering, "You're going to see the sunrise." Those words had stayed with her. Every day since the crash, she had lived in the memory of his hands, his voice, his steady gaze. Suddenly, the cafeteria doors swung open. Ethan Ward walked in, moving with the quiet precision of someone who owned the shadows. His eyes scanned the room until they found her. That brief flicker of recognition, the same unspoken conversation they had shared before, made Emma's chest tighten. She took a hesitant step forward. "Ethan," her voice wavered, but she forced it steady. I need to thank you properly." Ethan's gaze softened. He didn't speak immediately. Instead, he simply nodded a silent permission that allowed her to approach. Lily's small hand slipped into Emma's. "Mom, go," she whispered. Her trust was simple. Pure. She understood more than she could ever say. Emma drew closer. Every step was heavy with emotion. "I've been thinking about everything that night. About how you saved me. Without asking for anything. I can't stop thinking about it." Ethan's jaw tightened slightly. "It's not about me. It's never about me. Lives matter more than words." Emma shook her head. "No, it is about you. You are extraordinary. I've never seen anyone move like that, stay calm like that. You saved me twice. Once from the crash, and once from losing hope." Ethan's eyes softened, but there was a shadow there, a quiet weight of years he carried alone. I'm not used to people saying things like that. I'm used to doing what's needed and disappearing." Emma stepped closer, heart pounding. "But you can't disappear from my life. Not now. Not when you've already become a part of it." He studied her for a long moment, silence stretching between them like a held breath. Finally he nodded. I can't promise everything. But I can promise this. I'll be there. I'll do my part every night, every chance I get." Emma's lips trembled as she finally allowed herself to exhale. "That's all I need," she whispered. "I don't need grand gestures. I just need you to trust me, and let me be part of your world too." Ethan's lips curved slightly. "Trust, that's harder than any battlefield I've faced." "Then let me help you," she said softly. "Let me see your world. Let me understand you not as the man who saves lives, but as you." Ethan Ward. Lily watched, wide-eyed, clutching her mother's sleeve. "Mom, he's smiling." Ethan's rare, faint smile met her gaze. It was small, but it carried weight, promise, and unspoken understanding. In that moment, the hospital walls seemed to fade. The dangers, the emergencies, the storms outside, they all became background to something much larger. A connection that refused to be denied. Emma reached out, her hand brushing against his. For the first time since the crash, the fear, the uncertainty, and the pain began to ease. They stood together in the quiet chaos. Two people shaped by life, loss, and courage, realizing that trust and vulnerability could be the strongest acts of all. Tomorrow, Emma and Ethan's bond would face its first real test. When the hospital is threatened by a situation far beyond their control, courage, trust, and sacrifice will collide, and they will have to decide how far they are willing to go for each other. The storm hit the city like a warning. Rain pounded the streets outside St. Haven Hospital, lightning slicing the sky in blinding white streaks. Emma Ward gripped her crutch tightly, standing near the emergency entrance. Lily slept on the pull-out bed in her room, unaware of the brewing chaos. Emma's instincts screamed. Something was coming, and it wasn't an accident. A sudden alarm shattered the quiet. Red lights flashed across the hallways. The PA system crackled, code red. Emergency lockdown. All personnel to positions. Emma's heart raced. She knew the meaning immediately. This wasn't a normal emergency. Someone or something had breached the hospital's security. Through the chaos, they reached a group of patients trapped near the stairwell. Flames licked the walls, the heat intense. Ethan directed them, moving with lightning speed, carrying an elderly man on his shoulder, guiding another woman with a firm hand. Every motion was calculated, precise, heroic. Emma realized this was the man who had saved her once. Now he was saving dozens. Emma, grab those oxygen masks and help these people, he shouted. She obeyed instinctively, handing them out, pulling anyone she could to safety, her pulse pounding. Fear clawed at her, but so did a strange exhilaration. Together they were unstoppable. Ethan was the storm and the calm. She was learning to be both under his guidance. Then a collapse. The stairwell railing gave way, a young nurse teetering on the edge. Emma didn't think. She lunged, catching the nurse just as Ethan grabbed her from behind. Together they pulled the woman to safety, breathless, hearts hammering. Emma's eyes met Ethan's. Sweat, soot, and rain streaked both of them, but his gaze held steady. In that moment, she didn't see a security guard. She didn't see a quiet single mother. She saw courage incarnate. Two people willing to risk everything for life. The fire was controlled minutes later, thanks to their combined efforts and the emergency team rushing in. Patients were safe. The hospital had survived the worst. But Emma's mind raced. She had witnessed Ethan in a way no one else had. The hero, the protector, the man whose life was defined by service, sacrifice, and relentless courage. Lily's small voice echoed in her memory. Mom, he's amazing. Emma turned to him, chest heaving. I can't stop thinking about you, Ethan. Not now. Not ever. Ethan's eyes softened, for the first time letting the weight of vulnerability touch him. And I can't stop thinking about you either. Emma, you were brave tonight. You're stronger than you know. Tomorrow, the world outside the hospital would demand more than courage. It would demand trust, truth, and sacrifices that neither Ethan nor Emma could predict. And when secrets collide with power, only one question remains. Who will rise and who will fall? The city was buzzing with whispers and sirens as dawn broke over St. Haven Hospital. Emma Ward's phone vibrated relentlessly, messages, calls, alerts. The fire from last night had drawn media attention. The news outlets were already spinning the story. Hospital hero saves lives during fire. Emma didn't care about headlines. She only cared about him. Then she saw him, Ethan Ward, walking down the hospital hallway, uniform smudged hair, damp with sweat, eyes sharp scanning the area. He moved with calm precision, but Emma could see the exhaustion etched on his face. Yet even tired, he radiated courage. Ethan, she called, voice urgent, carrying over the hum of activity. He turned. That split-second glance, the one that had saved her months ago, struck her like lightning. He was aware, ready, and somehow still gentle. Before she could reach him, Michael Stone appeared beside her, coat still wet from the rain. Emma, the press is outside. They want a statement. Now. Emma's chest tightened. She didn't want attention for herself. She wanted him, Ethan, acknowledged, respected, seen for the man he was. She stepped forward, calling out, Ethan, wait. He froze, eyes scanning the hall. Then he smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly, and approached. Every step felt heavy with unspoken words. Cameras flashed as the media caught sight of them. Michael's jaw tightened. He wanted control, influence, spins. Emma ignored him. She had one mission. The truth. Everyone. Emma's voice rang out, steady, commanding despite exhaustion. This man saved lives last night. Not just mine, not just the patients, he saved dozens. His name is Ethan Ward. He is a single father, a former combat medic, and a hero this city needs to know. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Ethan's jaw tightened. His eyes scanned Emma, a mixture of surprise and disbelief. He had always avoided the spotlight. Always. Emma didn't stop. He doesn't do this for recognition. He does it because he is good. Because he cares. Because he shows up when no one else can. Ethan, you're extraordinary. And the world should know it. Ethan's lips parted slightly, a rare unguarded expression. He looked around at the crowd. Then down at Emma. I don't need headlines, he whispered, almost to himself. Emma shook her head, voice soft but firm. You don't need them, Ethan. But people need to. See what courage looks like. They need to see that heroes aren't always in uniforms with medals. They're right here, doing the right thing when no one's watching. Suddenly, chaos erupted. One of the reporters moved too close to Lily, who had been hidden behind Emma. Emma's heart jumped. Ethan's instincts kicked in. He moved in front of Lily, shielded her with his body, eyes scanning every angle, every potential threat. Emma felt the weight of his protection, the depth of his commitment, the truth she had already begun to understand. Ethan wasn't just a hero. He was her anchor, her shield, the man who had earned her trust and her heart. Cameras continued to flash. Michael Stone's expression softened for the first time, realizing some truths couldn't be controlled, couldn't be spun, couldn't be owned. Ethan exhaled slowly, looking at Emma. You said what needed to be said. Emma nodded, tears slipping despite the chaos. No, we said it together. A small hand tugged at her sleeve. Lily pointed at Ethan. Mom, he's our hero always. Ethan looked down at her, softened, knelt, and for the first time, allowed a small smile that wasn't fleeting. It was real, warm, human. Tomorrow everything changes. The world knows Ethan's name. The dangers have passed, but new choices, new truths, and the chance for love and family collide. Can courage, trust, and heart withstand the spotlight, or will the price of heroism demand more than either of them are ready to give? The first light of morning spilled over St. Haven Hospital, like a promise. Rain-soaked streets shimmered under the sun, but inside, the hospital buzzed with anticipation. Today was the grand opening of the Ward Center for Community Healing, a dream Emma Ward had nurtured quietly with Ethan. Emma adjusted Lily's backpack and guided her down the atrium. Her heart raced, not from fear, but from what was about to happen. This center would save lives, offer hope, and start a new chapter for the city. And it all began with the man who had saved her. Ethan Ward stood near the entrance, simple jacket, sharp eyes scanning the crowd. He moved with the same precision that had once saved lives on battlefields and hospital halls. Now that same skill would guide a community. Lily tugged at Emma's sleeve. Mom, he looks like a hero already. Emma smiled, tears threatening. He is sweetheart. He always has been. Cameras clicked as families, veterans, patients, and staff gathered. Emma stepped to the podium, voice steady yet raw. A year ago, I nearly lost my life, she said, holding Lily's hand. The man who saved me, and countless others, is here today. His name is Ethan Ward. A father. A former combat medic. A hero who chooses courage over recognition. The crowd went silent. Ethan stepped forward. Eyes met Emma's, calm, aware, powerful. Every move carried years of saving lives, bearing pain, and protecting the helpless. I've spent my life saving others, Ethan said, voice low but growing strong. Some I couldn't save. Some I didn't know. But every life matters. Today this center is hope, healing, and courage for anyone who needs it. Emma's chest swelled as Lily's tiny hand found his. He knelt slightly, letting her feel the strength he always carried. Applause began, slow then roared. Families cheered. Veterans saluted, nurses clapped. Cameras caught Ethan's rare smile, warm, human, free. Then Lily ran onto the stage, holding a drawing. A little girl, her mother, and a man holding a jacket over a fallen figure. A glowing heart above. Crayon words. Dad helping lady. Heart. Shining. Ethan's eyes widened. This is incredible, Lily. Emma stepped closer, voice trembling. You've saved us all, Ethan. Every heartbeat you've touched, every life you've protected. You've made the world better. Ethan's gaze shifted between Emma and Lily. I didn't do it for praise. I did it because it mattered. Because you mattered. Emma leaned closer, pinning the medal Olivia had given him on his chest. You told me I'd see the sunrise. Today, I see 1,000 sunrises because of you. The crowd erupted again, but for Ethan, only two things mattered: the little girl who trusted him completely and the woman who had finally let someone in. Sunlight poured through the glass walls, golden, unstoppable. For a moment, the storms, chaos, and fear melted into warmth, hope, and new beginnings. Then Lily ran onto the stage, holding a drawing. A little girl, her mother, and a man holding a jacket over a fallen figure, a glowing heart above. Crayon words. Dad helping lady. Heart. Shining. Ethan's eyes widened. This is incredible, Lily. Emma stepped closer, voice trembling. You've saved us all, Ethan. Every heartbeat you've touched, every life you've protected. You've made the world better. Ethan's gaze shifted between Emma and Lily. I didn't do it for praise. I did it because it mattered. Because you mattered. Emma leaned closer, pinning the medal Olivia had given him on his chest. You told me I'd see the sunrise. Today, I see 1,000 sunrises because of you. The crowd erupted again, but for Ethan, only two things mattered: the little girl who trusted him completely and the woman who had finally let someone in. Sunlight poured through the glass walls, golden, unstoppable. For a moment, the storms, chaos, and fear melted into warmth, hope, and new beginnings. Ethan looked at Emma, voice low but firm. We've seen darkness, but together, we can be the light. Emma smiled, leaning closer. Then let's make sure it never fades. Lily hugged them both tightly. We're unstoppable. Ethan laughed, warm and full. Yes, we are. The camera pulled back, showing three figures against the sunrise: a single mother, a heroic father, and a little girl learning the true meaning of courage and love. The ward center stood behind them, a beacon for hope and heroes. Heroes don't always wear medals. Sometimes they carry hearts that light the world.